You've been doing everything right. Every month, a little slice of your paycheck goes into the account before you can spend it. You barely feel it leave anymore. And for years, honestly, it feels like watching paint dry. The balance crawls up. Some months the market dips and it goes backwards. You start to wonder if any of this is actually working. But there is one number on that climb where something quietly changes. You won't get a notification. Nothing on the screen lights up. From the outside, it looks like just another Tuesday. That number is $100,000. And the strange thing nobody tells you is that the first 100,000 and the second 100,000 are not the same job at all. So here's the question almost no one runs the math on. What actually happens at 100 grand that makes everyone who reaches it say the same thing, that after this point, it gets easier? Give me about 10 minutes. I'm going to show you the exact moment your money stops needing you so much and starts doing the heavy lifting itself. Let's keep this simple and fair, with real numbers you can check yourself. Picture yourself putting away $500 a month. Not a fortune. About the price of a car payment, going into an index fund instead. That's $6,000 a year, every year, like clockwork. The market has averaged about 10% a year for nearly a century, closer to 7% after inflation. But to keep this honest and conservative, we'll build the whole thing on 8%, a notch below that long-run average. Now hold those two numbers in your head, because the whole story lives in the gap between them. What you put in, $6,000 a year, and what your money earns on its own. For a long time, one of these is huge and the other is almost nothing. Guess which one is which at the start? You already know. At the beginning, you are the entire engine. Here's the assumption almost everyone makes, and it's the one we're going to take apart. Most people treat 100,000 as just a checkpoint, a nice round number on a very long road to $1 million. Nothing special about it, just keep grinding. And it feels that way partly because so few people ever get there. The typical saver in their late 30s has under $40,000 in their retirement account. Even in their early 50s, the median is still under $70,000, nowhere near six figures. So the milestone feels almost mythical, something other people have, a number you chase for a decade and then, supposedly, just keep on chasing. But that framing misses the entire point. 100,000 is not a checkpoint on the road. It's the place where the road starts moving under your feet. Let's actually build it, year by year, and watch what happens. Year 1. You put in your $6,000. The market grows it by about 8%, but 8% of almost nothing is almost nothing. Your money earns you maybe $200. You did basically all of it. $200 of growth is a rounding error. This is the part that feels pointless, and this is exactly where most people quit. Year 5. You've now put in $30,000 of your own dollars, and with growth, you're sitting around $36,000. The market is finally chipping in a couple thousand a year. Still small. You're still the engine. And this is the honeymoon of the wrong feeling. It still looks like your contributions are the whole story, like if you stopped, everything would stop. For 5, 6, 7 years, that's basically true. Year 8. The balance crosses $67,000. And now, the growth in a single year is almost $5,000, getting close to the $6,000 you put in. Watch those two numbers. For 8 straight years, what you put in has beaten what your money earned. But the gap is closing fast, and somewhere just ahead, they cross. Before we hit that crossover, let's find exactly where it lives, because there's a clean little formula for it. Your money out-earns you the year its growth beats your yearly contribution. Growth is just your balance times the return. So set the balance times the return equal to what you put in and solve. $6,000 a year divided by 8% equals $75,000. That's it. Once your balance passes about $75,000, an 8% year earns you more than you can save. Change the return and the flip point moves, but it always lands in the same neighborhood. At a cautious 7%, it's about $86,000. At a strong 10%, it's just $60,000. And if you save more, you just have to climb a little higher first. $600 a month flips around $90,000. 700 a month, around 105. Notice where they all land. And there it is, the quiet magic of the number. For a normal saver, putting away a few hundred a month, the flip point sits right around $100,000. The milestone and the switch are the same place. Quick scoreboard before it gets good. 6,000 a year in, flip point near 100 grand. And below it, you carry the fund. Above it, the fund starts carrying you. So let's go back to the timeline and actually cross it. This is the moment. Year 10. Your balance hits about $91,000. And that year, the market hands you $6,700 in growth. Stop and feel that. For the very first time, your money earned more in a single year than the $6,000 you put in. You've been out-earned by yourself. That second piston in the engine? It just roared to life. From this year forward, your money is the bigger contributor. You're still adding your $6,000, but now you've got a silent partner putting in even more. Year 12, you sail past $100,000, and the growth that year is almost $9,000, half again what you contribute. The thing you built is now bigger than the thing you do. And here's what that actually looks like in your life. Once you're at 100 grand, 8% is about $22 a day, every single day, weekends and holidays included, while you sleep. Your money just clocked in for a full-time shift, and it never asks for a day off. This is why it gets easier after 100 grand. Not because you change anything, because the math finally tips and starts working the night shift for you. There's an old line from Charlie Munger that people quote all the time and mostly misunderstand. He said the first 100,000 is the hardest, that you should do almost anything to get there, and only then ease off the gas. Most people hear that and think he means it's hard to save that much. That's not the real point. The real point is what the 100,000 does once it exists. It's the hardest because every dollar of it has to come from you. There's no compounding tailwind yet to help you build it. You're pushing the snowball uphill by hand. But once it's built, the hill flips. Look at how long each 100,000 actually takes. At 8%, your first 100 grand takes about 11 years of pushing. Your second 100,000? Under 6 years. The third, under 4. The fourth, under 3. Same $100,000, showing up again and again, each time in a fraction of the time. You did the hardest rep first. Everything after it is downhill. The snowball is rolling on its own now, and you're just walking alongside it. And here's the part almost nobody runs. The one that turns 100 grand from a milestone into a machine. What if, the day you hit 100,000, you stopped? Never added another single dollar. Life happens, you redirect the money, you take a break. Just leave the 100 grand alone and walk away. Money at about 8% doubles roughly every 9 years. So that 100,000, completely untouched, becomes 200,000 in 9 years, 400,000 in 18, 800,000 in 27. Hit 100 grand at 33, never touch it again, and you're near $800,000 by your 60s, on zero further contributions. That's not a typo, just the doublings, quietly doing their work. And this is where the timing quietly decides everything. Reach that 100 grand at 33, and it has room for 3 full doublings before 60, 800,000. Reach the exact same 100 grand just 10 years later, at 43, and there's only room for 2. Same $100,000, same market, but those 10 years cost you about $400,000 at the finish line. That's why the first 100,000 is the seed, not the harvest. It's the hardest to grow precisely because it's doing the most important job, being the thing that everything else compounds from. Quick recap, full picture now. The first 100 grand is all you, and it's slow. Around it, your money starts out earning you. And left alone, it can octuple itself without another dollar from you. Now, to be fair, the market doesn't hand you a smooth 8%. Some years it's up 30, some years it's down 20, and if a bad stretch hits right after you reach the milestone, your doublings slow down. Inflation takes its cut too. That 10% is closer to 7 once you account for prices rising. And right now, with inflation running over 4%, cash sitting in a regular account is quietly losing ground. The averages only show up if you actually stay in for the decades. The math is real, but it only pays the people who don't bail when it's ugly. So what actually changes at $100,000? Now you know. You stop being the engine. Up to there, the whole thing runs on your effort, your paycheck, your discipline, dollar by dollar. After there, compounding takes the wheel, and your contributions become the smaller half of the story, which is why it's the hardest dollar you'll ever save, and the most valuable one. The first 100,000 is the price of admission to a machine that, from then on, mostly runs itself. And if you want your own number, the exact balance where your money starts out earning you, it's simple. Take what you save in a year and divide it by the return you expect. That's your personal switch. For most people, saving a few hundred a month, that switch sits right around 100 grand, which means the milestone everyone treats as just a number is actually the most important one you'll ever cross. So here's where you stand. If you're below 100,000 right now, don't let the slow part fool you into quitting. That flat, boring stretch is the hardest rep, and it's the one that builds the seed. You're not doing it wrong, you're just early. And if you're above it, understand what you've actually got. A machine that started paying you, and the worst thing you can do now is stop feeding it right as it learns to feed you back. Because the milestone was never really $100,000. It was the moment your money started working harder than you do, and almost nobody notices the day it happens. So tell me in the comments, how close are you to your first 100 grand? And did anyone ever explain what actually happens when you get there? I read these, and your questions become the next videos.